So from a business planning standpoint, here's what you guys can think about as you do next year's plan. Because in about 3 months, we're going to start working on it. You wouldn't beat up yourself feeling like you had to overdo calls or catch up after a vacay. What you do is simply take 52 weeks and say, how many am I going to work? I'm going to work 46, whatever the number is. Then you take your numbers and say, here's what I got to do weekly. So then when you're off and you don't worry about it before and after. That's what I used to do even back to the realtor days. We'd say how many calls we have to do. We had to do a lot more back then than we do as investors, but there's a massive amount of calls. We'd break it for the year, then we'd break it down how many weeks we got and plan on a vacay so you don't stress yourself out.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
That makes sense. That way you that way you're not beating yourself up for it and trying to catch up. And I feel bad that I'm not keeping my word to myself. So
well, that's a good thing, right? Do what you say you're gonna do. Let's do an exercise here. Let's just run with this. So let's say that we determine, I'll use round numbers and round up, that 50 leads was gonna equal a deal for you guys, right?
Right.
And you said, give me a number for deals, either one of you.
3.
Okay, well, for the year.
Oh, for the year would be 5 would be nice.
Okay, so we're gonna times that by 5. Whoops, 50 times 5 is only 250, right? Yep, 250 leads. Then you determine, you back this out for your dials, but you determine how much time that's going to take you to get those dials in to get to the 250 leads, right? And then you break that into 44 weeks or whatever it is, and it starts to become not a daunting task. Number one. Number two, you don't beat yourself up before or after vacation or during.
Right.
You do that with all your metrics. So by October, you guys remind me, we'll start your 23 plans, and we'll do that based on reality like that.
Right.
That makes sense, Rick?
Yeah.
Yep, it does. Yep, just taking the notes.
Okay. All right, cool. So do you guys have, I'm looking at my notes, you're both sending me calls. Jose, you could probably up that a little bit. What I'd love you guys to be doing is 2 calls, and then I critique it, like I said in the video, and then 2 more calls. That usually would get you into 4 calls a week by my schedule. And if my schedule is open, quite frankly, you might get a lot more because I might do them right away, and you'll have time to do 2 more back right away. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Chris,
Hey, Paul.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, sorry. See, yeah, on mine, I'm getting very few live calls with vacant, non-owner occupied, and most of
that's
them
a
are
tougher
vacant.
one.
Yeah, so they're hard to submit those when you get just voicemails, and a lot of them I'm not even leaving voicemails because unless they say this is so-and-so, I don't even know that it's the right number.
Can I make a suggestion with that?
Sure.
When I used to cold call as a realtor, I'm talking cold, pick neighborhoods and call. I wouldn't care who picked up, because if your message said, I'm looking for so-and-so, and then your script, but if it's not them and you may be looking to sell in the near term, give us a call. You'll have a script for that, but you'll get callbacks. It's not going to be like every single one you leave, if it's the wrong number, is never going to be interested in selling or know anybody. So leave that message like that, craft it and leave it.
Okay, because some of these, the owners aren't even the right owners.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's okay.
Just say the owner of such and such property.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And look at the owner, because in the script you and I worked on.
Yep.
And if that's not you, and you are looking to do something in the next year or 2 or know anyone, give us a call and then repeat, we're not realtors, we're looking to buy.
Okay.
I'm telling you, you'll be surprised. I'm not saying 1 out of 10, but 1 out of 50 or 100, which could be 1 a month, could be a lead. You see how easy this gets? Like, what if 1 a month on accident called you back? That's a cool story. It's happened plenty of times.
Yeah.
So just food for thought, Mr. Rick.
Okie doke.
Planning and calls. Okay. Mr. Paul, are you able to talk? Or are you tied up? You listening mode?
No, I can talk.
Okay,
I can
good.
talk.
Did you see the Monday video? I already asked these guys.
No.
Okay, you need to watch it. It's on members channel that I did on Monday morning. So just sort of get into a Slack protocol, if you will, to check that members channel for anything I might post or anyone else, frankly, that you're looking to catch. And then chime in on that.
Okay, I'm sorry, it's on the members channel, you said?
Yeah, I always put, if I'm gonna do a video or a rant, I always put on the members channel.
Okay,
Okay, and good idea, and it sounds like Jose and Ricky are already doing it, to get into some kind of a protocol. When do you guys do it? I'll ask you. Do you guys, Rick and Jose, do you check first thing, last thing? When do you check Slack?
I check it throughout the day periodically.
Yeah. Morning, I check it out morning and then of course evening, because I know sometimes it varies in the schedule.
Yeah, plus call critiques or whatever, I do them in
Right.
there, yeah, okay. So just a reminder to do that as I get more active with that leading up to QLS. All right, so with that on the side, what can I help you guys with today? What's on top of mind?
I've got a lot, but I'll let somebody else go first.
Well, you have some deals, so that's always helpful for everyone though, Rick, so let's hammer them.
Okay, so first on the AO, because I think that's going to be a quick one. There's some things you wanted me to bring up on the call.
Yeah.
And that was the deal of taxing and capital gains, sandwich lease or AO no different. When the property transfers, he'll be taxed unless he does owner financing, spreads it out. That was one of the things that you wanted me to bring up. And
Yes, because it sounded like the owner was confused. I don't think you were, maybe you were, but it sounded like the owner was confused about how it works.
yeah, I
Okay.
mean, because, you know, unless it's a sub two or an owner finance, it's
There's no
not going to
transfer.
put capital gains out.
Right. So Jose, and then I'll say for the recording, this gentleman, Rick had a really good call and the guy just naively or curiously asked, what about capital gains? And Rick was talking sandwich lease with this guy, right, Rick? I think on that one.
No, it was a, well. it
AO, that guy was
it
AO.
was AO, yeah.
Yeah. So same end result for him. The vehicle is a lease. There is no capital gains until it transfers way out then. So all he did is kick the can down the road. He's still going to have it because it's not his personal residence. He wasn't in it in 2 out of 5 years. So there's no play that Rick could do to help get rid of capital gains or kick. There's nothing to do other than delay.
Right.
Unless it was free and clear and you want to do some, or it had a little debt and you want to do some owner financing. And this gets more detailed, but do you guys want me to tell you how that works? There's videos on it, but do you want me to tell you how that works?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll say it. You guys tell me if it makes no sense. I'll say it a different way. So let's just use very round numbers. Okay, if someone asks you about capital gains, if a house is worth 500,000, a retail rather, not just you guys are talking about a price of 500,000, and you don't know, and sometimes the seller, usually they don't know their basis that their accountant is carrying because it's an investment property. So you say, look, Mr. Seller, let's just assume your basis is 250, just for the sake of this discussion. 500 sale, 250 basis. That means 50% of every principal payment you make, if that's what you set up for owner financing, 50%, because basis is 50%, is going to be taxed capital gains. 50% is not. So in an owner financing deal, they get to spread that out. It could be 10 years, could be 5 years, whatever it might be. That's usually more palatable for them. And even mentally, then they sell it and they get whacked all at once.
Right.
But that's how it works. That's the calculation. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Because it's good for you to use that exact example with sellers if they ask about capital gains. Now, just because we're on this topic, if they did live in it 2 out of 5 years, and they're still within that 5-year thing, there's no issue as long as they don't go outside of the 500,000 if married exclusion for their residence, or 250 if single. I was going over this with Nick yesterday for his own property. He's asking me about that. I said, well, you're single, so you only have an exclusion of 250 profit. Anything over that's subject to tax.
And is that only once? I think that's a one-time life exclusion, correct?
No, it's not one time. It isn't. You can, like, there's builders I know that every 2 years they'll do it because it's 2 years.
Okay. Okay.
Now, Chris, when you say in this example, 250K is the basis, That's what they purchased it for.
Not necessarily. Good question, Rick. So let's say they purchased it for, they've been there, it could be a number of scenarios, but they've been there 8 years. They probably purchased it for 300. If it's an investment property, every year their accountant depreciated it, that comes off the basis. But what gets added to the basis is capital improvements. New bathroom got remodeled and roof got put on, anything major.
Right.
And so the reason this came up yesterday is Nick was looking at our financials and he likes to learn more about the financials. He's on a mission with that. And we have a property we're selling. And I said, look, we bought it for this. We depreciated like 70 grand over the last 4 or 5 years. That's pretty heavy, but we put in a bunch of work to it. So it brought the basis back up. Does that answer you, Rick?
Yep, sure does.
Yeah. These nuances are kind of important. I'll probably write that down and talk to the coaches about too, because they're good to know with the sellers. And as you found out, Rick, they usually don't know.
No, they don't.
So you're the expert, you're the authority. And if you don't know, go someone on my team will, I'll call you back. That's cool too. That's the beauty you guys have in the community.
Yeah, and that's what I did on the call with him is I said, I get you involved in it.
Yep, I love it.
And it's basically only good to know how it works. It's not necessarily for us to get into the weeds on issues, because 9 times out of 10, we're going to consult them and say, hey, listen, this kind of issue could have an impact. You might want to talk to your accountant about it.
Right.
Yeah, Jose, spot on. The other thing I do is I say to them, I've used Paul Dion a lot.
Yeah.
I said to the seller, hey, Rick, if your accountant's not clear, because some accountants, this couple of this guy picks up this investment property, but the accountants haven't done much of them and they take it on. So I give them a call with Paul. Paul will do a free call with anyone if it's not obnoxious. They do a quickie,
Yeah.
All right. So is that good on cap gains?
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. Rick, are you okay with that AO deal until you hear back from him? I want to make sure we nail this deal. I think it's a go.
Yeah, I think it's a go. The only thing is you did mention because he asked for a copy of the contract, but it's not just the one or two pager AO. It's probably on the buyer side also.
Very good. I forgot I said that. This was early in the morning when I did your critique. Okay, so what he's talking about, Jose and Paul, is I find it hard for the seller to understand what an AO looks like with just our option agreement. It's a page or two. So instead, we send them the option agreement and simultaneously send them a finished buyer package from someone in the community that did an AO. We just block out the address and the names, because when their attorney, unlike our sandwich agreement, when their attorney sees how protective our long form lease is of, in this case, them, because we're giving it to them, we're assigning it to them, they love it. There's never a hole poked in it. Because remember, we set these up when we're doing tenant buyers. So when we take a tenant buyer and we assign it to our seller, their attorney loves it. So I like to send them a finished package, like signed by the attorney, notarized, everything in it. And Sue can give you one of those.
Okay, do we need to black out the attorney's name and everything else on there?
You don't have to block out the attorney's name, but I would block out the address and the buyer's name, obviously.
Yeah.
Because they'll see, guys, they'll see the long form lease and then all the attachments we have with it, the assignment and consent, all that stuff. And any attorney, even one that doesn't deal with these different than a sandwich, will look at that and go, I get it. Like, it's very cool the way it flows. AOs.
Okay. Yeah. So I'll get Sue to send that. It'd be nice if we had one that was already redacted
In the package.
Yeah.
All right. So why don't I do that? It'd be a to-do for me. It's come up a lot, Rick. So place in, not in QLS. I don't want the public having access to it, just the associates. So Linda probably.
Yeah.
Place in Linda.
So is that a part of the standard then, sending that package along to
With an AO? I do,
your
Jose.
seller so that they can review it together?
Yeah, because think about it. They get the AO thing. They kind of get it if they're somewhat savvy to real estate and they can follow the math and they go, oh, that sounds cool. But then they go, but what does it look like? Like, what am I getting from the buyer? You're giving me the buyer, but what does it look like? This agreement shows them everything.
That'd be terrific.
Yeah. So Rick, you can ask Sue, and in the same sentence, just tell her I'm going to want her to put it in Linda anyway. She doesn't know how to do that. She knows QLS, so I'll help her with that. and you want to keep it for yourself in case you have questions, guys, side note, go through it. I know you can see checklists. It doesn't make sense till you see one done. So go
Right.
through that.
Right.
Right.
Awesome. Good.
Yeah, I think I had one prior to that in Concord, Mass. And he asked me a lot of questions and I sent him a blank version. And my bet is he probably did the same thing without me in the middle, setting it up. So he
Yeah.
made money. So
Yeah. Well, they'll still screw it up because they'll screw up the qualifying piece. So you want to make sure when you're sending them, like this guy's truly wants it, wants to go forward. That's different.
Yep.
And once in a while, listen, the risk of an AO, you guys, and why I don't do as many is they can sidestep you. We had one, me and Nick had one where the guy said, yeah, somebody knocked on my door. Well, it was one of our buyers. So there's no like binding thing. What are you going to do? Go chase him? You have an option agreement.
yeah.
So it's very easy. It's risk averse, but 1 out of like 10, you'll go, oh my God, why do you do that? They just leave or go, oh, I changed my mind. And you can't really chase them.
No.
So it's okay. You take all the free paychecks you get for the payday ones and the 180 or 2, you don't want to deal with them anyway, right? In theory.
Right.
So that's it.
Yeah.
So do we beat the AO up? Are we good with AOs?
Yep,
Yeah.
we're good with the AO. The other one was the sub 2.
Okay.
All right, now this one here, the seller, and just for Jose and Paul, this particular seller is in forbearance. It's about 50, 60K
Wow.
behind. However, he talked to the lender after we talked, and the lender is open to doing a wrap. And so it'll be caught up to date as long as the payments are made.
A loan, they're gonna do a loan mod, Rick. Is that the one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're redoing it all, guys.
Yeah. So
Was it COVID? Was it COVID related? Why he was behind?
I think it's a combination. They got into some debt with the IRS, and he and his wife are getting divorced. My bet is financial reasons. And I think it was a lot of poor financial management. That's just my thought on it and talking to him.
Yeah.
He's a chef. I don't know what she does, but so anyway, her priority, he keeps asking, well, how much are we going to get up front? And he said that's his wife's most important thing is how much they get up
Of course
front.
it is. Of course it is.
Yeah. So the subject to P&S does not have, number one, it doesn't have a term. So I've got to put a term in there.
Well, when you say you got to put a term because of his equity,
Yes.
right? So all you're putting a term on though is in the sub 2 P&S that we have in the owner financing section of that, because there is technically some owner financing because he has equity, right? Unlike most sub 2s, you'll put an end date on the equity only. And what'll happen, Rick, tell me if this makes sense, and all you guys, what'll happen is the attorney will draft up a promissory note and a mortgage for that equity only, and it'll be dated properly. The underlying debt, there's nothing, it's already a loan in their name. It's just going to be there.
Okay, because I took the owner finance section out of it, but I guess I'll put it back in.
When there's equity that you're protecting, yes, it's odd for sub 2, but this guy has financial, like he needs a Band-Aid. Yeah. So
Right.
and he wants to protect some of his equity. Frankly, he may or may not, like we discussed, lose it if you didn't do this. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. Because worst case, he's going to end up putting it on the market because he won't be able to make the mortgage payments on it. So,
Right. I think ding his credit again, and the whole cycle starts again.
yeah.
How much equity are we trying to protect, Rick? Or I heard your call, you negotiated the way I said. I mean, you did a good job with it.
He had a balance of about 350, I believe, and he's selling it for 549. Well, offered him 549. Now, keeping in mind, if he sold it with a realtor, he was going to make like 521 net.
Right. If he got full price.
Right, and he had it listed for 549 for about 2 or 3 weeks. And just for Jose and Paul, the realtor got an extremely lowball offer for like
Oh, I
440.
remember. Yeah.
and
Gotta push it.
was really pushing them to accept it. And it turned out she had a relationship with the buyer and they were going to flip it.
Yeah, that's pretty
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
crazy.
So
Crazy.
needless to say, he got out of that contract.
Okay, the good news for us is that was very frustrating for him and you can help him and the market didn't have time to even respond to that. It probably is a good price.
Right.
That's my gut.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. It's similar homes have sold in the sixes. So
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay, so where does this one stand, Rick? What do we have to do here?
we got to figure out how to deal with upfront. How much upfront?
Out of the 200 or whatever is there?
Yeah.
He wanted 50 if I remember, and you and I, and then you played with him a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, he wanted 50 and then he said to clear up some debts and I said, what debts? And he specifically said the IRS thing that was
21 for the IRS, if I remember.
Yeah, and he didn't
Did you
talk about
refer
how,
to Jerry yet?
I don't have Jerry's contact information.
Here, I'm gonna give you guys his number. I think he might come to QLS Live. He's extremely helpful. It's just that when he's in an event setting, people don't like to go over to him so that they think they have tax problems. But I mean, I used him in 08. That's how I met him. He's amazing. His name is Jerry D. Lang, D-E-L-A-N-G. And what I'll do is I'll send you guys right now, the three of you, I'll send you his contact information. Because if you have any sellers, family, whatever, that wants help, he takes all stress away. Let me say it that way. It's amazing. I
Yeah,
just
and I'll
referred him
talk
to
to
a woman that does energy work with me.
Yeah, and I'll talk to him first. So when Paul calls him, and he says, Rick, Jerry
Yep.
doesn't say who.
So Rick, Jose, and Paul, you're all getting this. Paul, this might, from an estate perspective, I'm thinking it might be good for you too. You might run into people that need it. He does it the whole country. He's in Florida.
Okay.
How I met him was he has a relative in Rhode Island, and when I was doing some speaking, we ran into each other.
So he does more than just dealing with the IRS.
Yep, but I tell you right now, if he has a 21 grand bill, he won't have to pay that right away, is why I thought of it for you and us. Because if Jerry says, give me 2 grand to work the case, I'll get you a payment plan that stretches out with no interest for, that's what I did years ago. Well, that just made his life a lot easier, and it made our deal a lot easier, and you helped someone, and he'll never forget that. So you're trying to help the deal and help him.
Right. And I think that may satisfy him, but his wife, as far as getting money up front.
Yeah. So how about this for an idea? Let's brainstorm this out loud, you guys. How about if you said, Rick, something along the lines of, and I'm just thinking out loud, so let's see what we got for ideas. We say, all right, Mr. Seller, is that your main concern? Yes. Okay. So how about if we add $2,500 for you to move and 5 grand for your wife, keeping in mind she's probably gonna want like 10. 5 grand for your wife, and then whatever the IRS settlement is with Jerry or the first 3 months payments, because I'm telling you, they don't have to pay 21 grand. If they get to this quick enough, Jerry takes that away, all the annoying phone calls away, all the stress away. I'm telling you, he's gonna like that. He's a restaurant guy, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So that's annoying to be on the phone with those idiots that many times. I know it. So Jerry takes all that away. You sign a power of attorney, he doesn't.
Mm.
So then if Jerry makes all that go away, we pay them in that little scenario, $7,500. If you're okay with that, or we can do it with Wicked Smart Finance.
So Jerry will deal with that and the $7,500.
Mhm.
I'm saying offer them whatever the settlement for the IRS is. If Jerry fixes it, I know he'll fix it. So now that kind of goes off the board in my head, but they don't know that. Their perceived value is, okay, so they might give us 21 plus 25 to move for me and 75 for my wife, or 5, sorry. In my scenario. Does that make sense? Did I go too quick?
No,
that's good.
No, I'm good. I'm following.
I'm just using that as numbers. And if you're good doing it with Wicked Smart Finance, I'd be good with playing around with that other piece for the wife. I'm just saying, start there, see how he reacts. Because when you said to him something like, what do you need it for? And you kept it flexible, he stayed flexible. He wasn't like, oh no, I need that. He stayed good with you, which tells me they really need this financial Band-Aid.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I told him, he said 20 something K. I said, well, it might be kind of tough. We'll see what we can do, but at least maybe we can take a chunk out of it.
Yeah, good. It was good, Rick. And then, so now you say, I got another idea. We have a special dream team member. I'm gonna turn him over to you. His name is Jerry. Let me call for you first. Boom.
Okay, now, probably also want to make sure they understand that, giving them the 549, they wouldn't have netted 549 with a Realtor. They would have netted 521.
Correct. It's a gift.
Yeah,
And the reason we can say we're okay with it is comps are coming up much higher, A. B, it's a sub two, we'll own it we have all kinds of play with it. No time bomb ticking, nothing. Now, you did say about the equity though, how long can we get on that? That's key. That'll
He did-
dictate if he gets his 549.
Jesus Christ.
yeah, I mean, he didn't mention anything because we didn't talk term, but he did understand that it was 4, 5, 6 years, something like that. So
Oh, okay.
I can talk that with him in advance.
Then okay, again, spitball out loud, you guys. I'd go with your 549 number. If it's the 6 years, and then back it down from there. He says, well, I talked to my wife and my attorney, whatever, I need 4 years. Okay, now we go lower. But the 549 is if we can get 6 years. That's really good. Cash that buyer out by then. Or we'll have other deals going where we get rid of him and keep the house.
So you wouldn't go the 549? You go down, you start them off at the 529 for
No,
5 years?
549 if he can go out to the 6, only because Rick
Okay.
thinks the discussions were open about 4, 5, 6.
Okay,
And then if he says at 95, you tighten it a little bit, not obnoxious, right?
Mhm.
And you tighten it. Unlike Jose, like we did yours, and we added on the principal 3 months. When we're
right,
subtracting, it's all gravy. So we're just playing with it.
right, okay.
Okay, so that's as far as numbers, I'm good with that. Now,
Okay.
how do I put that into the PNS as far as?
You gotta talk to him first and get that to that point. And if he says, yeah, good, 6 years on the whatever the equity is. And yes, I'm good with IRS plus 25 plus 5. I can help you write that up. Just get to the point where he's in theory agreeing and you and I will write it up.
Okay, all right, good enough. So the only other questions that I've got is on the PNS. I struggled, maybe I read it wrong, but under the cover of your butt, section 14.
This is engineer brain kicking in now. So we're gonna
It is.
go ahead.
Particularly, I mean, there's a bunch of things, I get it, but the last one, a buyer or seller shall indemnify, defend, and hold harmless the buyer and all persons or assigns regardless of responsibility from all costs, expenses, and so on and so forth. That's saying you can't come after me for anything, even if I default.
It's saying they can't come after you if it's in the sub 2 section regarding if there was ever a bank problem, a note calling or something like that.
No, actually, this was any.
General.
Including not limited to those arising out of injury to persons, damage to property, to any person, financial institution.
Gotcha. I know where you are. Okay, that's compliments of Adam, our attorney. If you're dealing with him directly, it's not going to come up. If he has another attorney, I think 1 out of 8 attorneys or 10 can safely say would even go with the sub 2 anyway. So usually we don't get kickback on it. It depends if he's going to go with an attorney. I don't know many attorneys, Rick, that let alone represent us would let their seller enter a sub 2. And they'd be feeling like they're putting themselves at liability.
So chances are, I'm not so concerned about him, but his wife will say, let's go to an attorney, and an attorney's gonna throw up all over this.
That sounds good in theory, but who else is going to fix their financial headache? That's why we're talking sub 2. So your back down is this. Your back down is, okay, we can do a lease purchase, but we can't put money down.
Okay.
But that's your back down. By the way, side note, this deal there's a lot of things here. The reason you want Jerry involved also is you don't want the IRS leaning that house before you buy it.
Right.
And you want to make sure they didn't yet, which we'll find in title search. So this is interesting deal. A lot of moving parts. So I'll stay with you on it. But
Yeah,
because
hold
of
on,
that, Rick, most people shy away.
Yeah.
Hold on, with a lease purchase, you can give a down payment, but not with the sub 2. Or do I
no,
have it
opposite,
backwards?
Paul.
Opposite.
I don't preferably want to put money down with a sandwich. We're not taking title, even though we are recording a notice of option. Like we've given moving money and some small things before, but never would we put 30, 40, whatever, even 20 grand. I wouldn't want to.
Okay,
Mhm.
Could you? Sure. I'm just telling you what my comfort zone is. I gotta take title and I definitely want the seller to know there's a difference.
See, now I think in that particular section 14, it is, in my mind, as a seller, that's gonna say, well, what responsibility do you have that we can even rely on you?
Yeah, but there might be a tornado tonight too in New Hampshire. We don't know. You're just guessing that someone's gonna say something. So just wait and see if they do.
Okay, got it. This isn't the first time you've said this to me.
Yes, that's okay though. Yeah, that's okay. It's all good.
Got it.
I'm telling you, no one's called us on that clause. They either do the deal because they need financial help, or they're not doing the deal for that or other reasons because they have an attorney. They don't really need to do the financial deal. So very rare. Quite frankly, a lot of the financial people that are hurting and want you to solve their issue don't even read the damn thing.
Okay,
So the more you talk to them, the more I hear your calls, which is super helpful. So keep sending me his follow-up. The more I hear him going like he needs a lifeline.
yeah, absolutely. They don't want to get strapped with,
Another one.
I think he's living with his parents because the address is down the street, their mailing address, so.
Who's
and
in the house? Her?
No one's in the house.
All right, good. Because if she was in it and he wasn't, then she ain't gonna want to do the deal.
Yeah, no
All right.
one's in the house. He's
All right.
been having it repainted and it's completely vacant.
Okay, better.
Hmm.
So send me the next call on these two deals.